not to have bases in the countries of the third world, or let's say so, poor countries. Do you think that these bases are there because of protecting the interest of the richer countries of the West?
Well, these new bases, from a geopolitical point of view, are bases that addressed to the south. So they look Africa, Middle East, and according to some interpretation, also Russia. So the characteristic of this new basis is more offensive. And let's say the combination of these characteristics, the environmental and economic impact on the local level, and the, let's say, offensive characteristic on the international level, they had as consequences also the beginning of important movement against the basis. So NATO today is direct involved in the military and war operation, for example, in Afghanistan. And this, let's say, expansion process started after '89 is not finished. In particular, in 1999, NATO adopted a new statute, the new strategic concept, that even includes, for example, the possibility of the military organization of using the force to contrast the movement of people, the mass movement of people, for example, from the south. So, what we can say in general is that these new military bases are offensive, are intervention bases, so they will be active structures, and also we can say that they are involved in military operations in which the victims are generally the civil. Today, the victims of the conflicts, of the military conflicts, are 90% civil people. So the characteristics of this project in general, of this in Slovenia, but also the one in Vicenza, and so on, and we could say a lot of other examples, of course, is that they are dangerous at the local level, especially for the environmental impact, but also for the economic one, and at the international level for the consequences, destructive consequences of the use of force.
So, okay, you mentioned Vicenza. So, what does the people in Vicenza think about NATO base?
Vicenza.
Yes.
Well, in Vicenza, but it's not an exclusive, of course, place, because, for example, I would like to mention before Vicenza, Okinawa, because I've just I was in Okinawa, because Asia is particularly interesting today. A lot of things, important things, will happen in Asia. So in Okinawa, the Japanese movement has been able to obtain from the government the retirement of troops from Iraq and from Afghanistan, but also with the direct, let's say, actions, they are avoiding the construction, for example, of the new base in Henoko. Again, we have these two elements. The people in Japan, they know that the base will have ecological and economic problems. So the fishermen, in fact, they are involved in this protest because it would be a base near the sea. But also there is the, let's say, pacifist aspect, because the anti-war movement is together with the local protest. And in Vicenza it's happening a similar thing, I would say. So a new military base in a town that is much militarized yet, had as a consequence an important reaction of the people. Of course, this issue is one of the issues, for example, of the conference of tomorrow.
We've talked about these direct actions because in Slovenia we haven't had yet some direct actions. I mean, huge direct actions against this base.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Well, yes, maybe we can mention another, in fact, aspect, the political consequences of the construction of these bases. Let's say that in generally the NATO bases, they have also some parts that are under U.S. control. So, which are the consequences for, let's say, in this case Slovenia, but we can say also Italy, with the U.S. base of Vicenza, of the construction of this new base? Well, according to me, the construction of this new base, this offensive like this, it's a direct consequence also in the foreign and military politics of the next years. We can say the next 10, 15 years. Especially if the bases are big, it's very difficult to say to NATO, for example, not to use the base when it will be a war in which NATO wants to participate. So, the construction of the base is a direct consequence on the foreign politics of the next years.
Okay.
And, yes.
Yes, yes.
And, of course, it's difficult at the moment to say which would be the future from this point of view. But at the moment we have already Afghanistan, Iraq, and so on.